Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. Ilia Topuria just absolutely dominated Josh Emmett in the main event of a UFC fight night in Jacksonville, Florida. So in today's video, I'm going to be analyzing his performance and predicting, can Ilia Topuria win UFC gold at 145? Some dominant scorecards were read out after the fight. Some 10-8 rounds were given out. In my opinion, I probably would have given Ilia Topuria a 50-45 with no 10-8 rounds in there, but nonetheless, Ilia Topuria absolutely dominated in there. Ilia Topuria came out with a really nice game plan against Josh Emmett to be extremely calculated, to make some reads on Josh Emmett in there so he didn't come in and immediately get hit with those big bombs that Josh Emmett does throw. Josh Emmett loves that left hook to the body, right overhand combination, and it was landing somewhat on Ilia Topuria, but for the most part, Ilia Topuria went in there, established the jab, established a really nice leg kick that ended up hurting Josh Emmett multiple times in this fight. And from outside boxing range and outside striking range in general, outside of a few leg kicks that Josh Emmett landed, Josh Emmett had absolutely nothing for Ilia Topuria at range. Ilia Topuria was consistently making Josh Emmett whiff on these huge hooks. From there, Ilia Topuria made the really nice read of noticing that Josh Emmett's guard was very center-oriented, meaning he was defending strikes like straights to the body, straights to the head, jabs to the head. So to counteract this, Ilia Topuria started digging in those hooks to the body and those hooks to the head that wrapped around the guard right behind the ear, right on the temple, that consistently stunned Josh Emmett. Of course, Ilia Topuria's explosiveness, speed, movement, lateral quickness, and overall power and explosiveness was absolutely on display in this fight. And even though Ilia Topuria kept having success with his jab throughout this fight, snapping back the head of Josh Emmett consistently with that jab, his best work absolutely in any fight he's in, no matter if it's a guy like Josh Emmett who likes to bang in the pocket, Ilia Topuria's best work is from inside boxing range. He's very content with even an absolute killer like Josh Emmett. He's content with getting into the pocket, finding that inside boxing range and landing absolute bombs, devastating hooks, again, not only to the body, but to the head of his opponents. And this is where the holes start to come into Ilia Topuria's game. Because once you start to fight a guy like Yair Rodriguez, a guy like Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, for example, they are content with sticking on the outside for an entire fight and just absolutely picking at you at range. Not only that, but they have phenomenal weapons in their arsenal to keep the fight at range. And when I see Josh Emmett survive for all 5 rounds in there against Ilia Topuria, even though he ate his best shots, and then I look at Josh Emmett against Yair Rodriguez, absolutely broken, being a broken man in there by midway through the second round, it just makes me think there's somewhat of a level to striking at 145, and I'm just not sure. I'm not convinced that Ilia Topuria is at that level. In my opinion, there's 3 tiers, and I think Ilia Topuria is honestly in tier 2 all by himself. He's clearly a better striker than a guy like Calvin Kattar, like a guy like Josh Emmett, but he's just not at that tier of a Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez guy. He doesn't have those teeps to the body, the teeps to the face, those long-range weapons that will stun his opponents from range. Ilia Topuria's range-finding weapons, such as his calf kick and his jab, is more to find that inside boxing range and to set up his other shots, whereas Yair Rodriguez can win a fight on the outside, so can Alexander Volkanovski, so can Max Holloway. So when I envision Ilia Topuria going up against Yair Rodriguez, I genuinely see Ilia Topuria somewhat struggle to find that inside boxing range. Once he does, I think he gets the better of the exchanges with a guy like Yair Rodriguez. He has significantly more power than most guys at the top of the featherweight division. I just believe at some point in a fight, 4th, 5th round, we even saw it in this Josh Emmett fight, he had to implement his grappling and start getting takedowns to survive in this fight and not eat an incredible amount of damage. So if he faces a guy like Yair Rodriguez, he's going to have to implement his grappling much quicker on in the fight, considering Yair Rodriguez is a significantly better striker than a Josh Emmett. So to answer the question of the video, do I think Ilia Topuria can become champion of the UFC UFC at 145? Well, it depends. Not at the moment. I don't think he beats Alexander Volkanovski. I don't think he beats Yair Rodriguez. And I don't think he beats Max Holloway. The thing is, though, Alexander Volkanovski is getting up there in age. He's not going to reign over the division forever. And Ilia Topuria is a super young guy. So obviously, he will still be in his prime by the time that Alexander Volkanovski retires. Same with Max Holloway. Max Holloway is not that old, but he's pretty old in fight years. Then you look at Yair Rodriguez. He's, of course, a young guy, but he's somewhat old in fight years. And the lack of power that Yair Rodriguez has, I think 2 or 3 more really damaging fights to Yair Rodriguez will somewhat take him out of his striking prime. He will have less of an ability to take a big shot. So while I think that Yair Rodriguez can outpoint Ilia Topuria, I think 3-4 years down the road, Ilia Topuria will be able to overcome that striking technique from the outside, and he'll be able to substitute that lack of technique he has on the outside with the absorbent amount of power and technique he does have in his boxing. And the fact that he's such an explosive, dynamic, powerful grappler with really nice wrestling, much better wrestling than Yair Rodriguez, even though you could say their jiu-jitsu is about even, I do give the grappling advantage to Ilia Topuria in a future Yair Rodriguez fight. So in my opinion, to answer the question, yes, I do think Ilia Topuria becomes a UFC champion, but I don't think it's going to be in the next 2 years. The 3 guys at the top are just slightly better than Ilia, but Ilia is so dangerous and he's so much better than everyone else behind him. So Ilia Topuria will become champion. I think it will just take a couple years to do so. Thanks for listening, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what are your thoughts on Ilia Topuria's phenomenal performance today against Josh Emmett.